So John Warner has got the first question.
All right, Glenn. Great to see you, first thing.
You too, John. Thank you.
Anyway, just your reaction to the NCAA's decision to extend spring eligibility yesterday.
Yeah, it's a big day for seniors. It's a big day for all of our athletes. Certainly was pleased with the decision overall. Lots of questions over the last couple of weeks. Lots of decisions have to be made. But to have the opportunity to come back and play another year, especially for our seniors, I think was huge. For everyone, it was important. From the feedback I received from my girls, it was important to each of them. Having said that, this decision is going to prove to be a little more complicated than just the fact that we have a returning class. Certainly, I would be excited with this senior class coming back. And we'll work through all the things that we need to. And I also think that it was a very fair decision. No decision is perfect, but I have a lot of gratitude toward our administration. Mac Rhodes, commissioners, the NCAA, and just really happy for our seniors and the kids that got the extra year if they desire it.
All right, Jerry.
Glenn, you kind of touched on it, but have you gotten confirmation, or who do you have confirmation from that they'll definitely be coming back for an extra year?
Well, those talks are ongoing, Jerry. Certainly, we've had some conversations, and initially they're excited about the opportunity. The only one that's said she's ready to move on with her career, and understandably, is Kyla Walker. The other four seniors certainly have interest in coming back. Goose is still, Shelby McGlone is still considering all the options. These kids have prepared for next year to be a whole different direction in their lives. But the other three, Dawson, Ellis, and Gia, have all committed to coming back, at least at this point. So, all of that's fluid, I guess, and we'll sit down and talk more in depth. But, that's the situation as it stands right now.
Nick.
Hey, Coach, what's going on? Hey, what excites you about your team for next season now that you might have some pieces that are coming back?
Well, this is a great group of seniors, and next year would have been a rebuilding year for us with, talent, but we were getting contributions from all of these kids, and I'm certainly going to miss Kyla Walker, one of the best hitters in the game, not just here at Baylor, but just an outstanding player. But to have a pitcher like Gia Rodoni, who set out last year, and we saw the struggles we had without her, to come back and pitch the way she has to this point until the season stopped. I'm excited that we'll have that type of leadership in the circle, and that's where it all starts. But every one of these kids are special in their own right and can compete on the highest level.
All right, Matt and his puppy have a question next.
I have an unruly press conference guest down here, but Coach, you mentioned Kyla moving on, just with what she went through with the injury, to come back and then to have this year kind of pulled away, that it kind of has to hurt for you to see her battle back and then not be able to finish this way.
Yeah, we talked about that. Told her that I was disappointed that her name was not on the All-American wall. She deserved it. Some things are out of our control, and that's life, like the situation we're in right now. Every year, Kyla went through some type of injury that prohibited her from probably becoming All-American each year. And that's crazy to think about. But, if you play for the love of the game, you like the accolades, you like those moments where you're recognized. But Kyla played for the love of the game, and she's very tough. Yeah, it is an emotional. I feel my voice cracking a little bit thinking about not having her because she is that good. But actually, these kids know there's not a lot left for them after collegiate softball, and most have, at least coming from our program, have made big plans for their future. So, in a sense, it's selfish for me to ask them to give up what they've already prepared for. And I certainly don't with her. We're going to miss her. Those shoes are mighty big for a little athlete, but they're mighty big for someone to fill. So, I understand, certainly support her. And we had a video conference call last week, and we let her speak to the team and the staff a little bit about her decision. And I think everybody understands it.
All right, Jerry.
Glenn, how difficult was it when you got the news just that the season was going to end? Because there was so much promise. You guys, were playing really well. How difficult, like you said, some things are out of your control, but how difficult was that?
I was so proud of the senior leadership that we had bouncing back from a year ago. The only thing you can do when you have that type of year is just prove it on the field that that's not who you are. And they had certainly taken this team under their wing. And, we were certainly hadn't peaked, but we were playing good ball. Left out of Houston, Gia throws nearly a perfect game in that game. And then he hit 5 home runs. Offense is starting to click, and we're going to be tested against one of the top programs in the country. We're sitting in Florida waiting to work out on a Thursday just, a little over 2 weeks ago, and get the news. Again, I know this is bigger than softball, and I try to keep that in perspective. But from a softball standpoint, it was devastating because this team was ready to reclaim the position they had been in for quite a few years. And we were well on our way, I think.
John.
Able to do as a coach right now? Obviously, you're staying in contact with your players. Are you staying in contact with, you signed 5 players in November. Are you able to stay in contact with them? Just kind of what can you do right now?
Yeah, well, I'm doing the same thing with those 5 players. Haven't had a video conference, but we have communicated. They had a lot of questions when the ruling came out as well, how this affects them, if it affects their scholarship. Like I said earlier, there's consequences to this that most people don't really know. There's complications to be worked out, and that will work itself out. But that affects them. I mean, they're coming in. Every underclassman was expecting attrition to take place and maybe have more opportunity for playing time, and we already had a big roster, so we've got to work those things out. But they were concerned, about the situation and how it would affect them, and some of those things we don't have answers to right now. But we certainly I assured them that this didn't change for them scholarship-wise. Just going to be more competition, and more competition means you improve your game. So that's kind of the approach we're taking with them. Just get here and expect to have a lot of great inter-squad games where the cream will rise to the top, and we'll put together a pretty good product on the field.
All right, Nick.
All right, Coach. I mean, with everybody's their routine has been thrown off every single day. I mean, do you think this is a great time for a lot of us to spend more time with our family when we have the chance? Because when it comes in season, I mean, you're swamped neck deep with softball. Right now, though, I mean, everybody's kind of quarantined at home. How important is this right now to get that good family quality time?
Thanks for that question. And let me say, I know as busy as this time is of year every year for me and our coaches and players, it's at least that busy for you guys. You're running your legs off. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I said the other day, this is the first spring I can remember ever having off, even back to high school days. So we've taken advantage of it here. I know people are looking at 4 walls about to go stir crazy. We've been able to do a little fishing and some projects. Miss Moore has plenty of projects to do, so we've been doing projects. Family time has been great. everybody wants life to get back to normal, and I certainly am one of those. But we've enjoyed each other. We've watched a series called The Chosen, 8 episodes of that. So yeah, I think take advantage of this. If you have family, enjoy them during this time. Hopefully, we won't experience it again. But this has not been all bad under the circumstances. We've been able to have a lot of fun. We got JC home from college, and Ty's finishing his senior year up, and then our 3 foster kids. So it's kind of crazy around here at times, but we've been able to love on each other and have some great devotional times. We're sitting at a table and having a meal. We don't do that. That's it's kind of brought our culture back to a little bit, at least here at the Morehouse, the way I was raised with 9 members of our family in one home.
Drake.
Coach, you talked about some of the questions the program still has, the big unknowns. What are the biggest unknowns right now that you're still waiting to hear about?
Well, the biggest for me would be Goose McGlon, to find out if she's going to return or if she's moving on. I certainly support whatever she decides, but, she's a great athlete and a great recruit. She's been here a while. So, I'm trying to give her the space she needs to make a decision that will, she feels the Lord is leading her to make, and we're going to respect whatever that is. So that's the biggest unknown. I can't tell you that I hadn't encouraged the 3 that are returning to do a little recruiting there for me, but at the same time, that's probably the biggest unknown. Every day is unknown during these circumstances, though, Drake. It's day to day, listening to many different sources, trying to focus on just what Mac tells us, because I know he's on the front lines fighting for us. And yesterday was a huge day as we found out that these kids had an opportunity to continue to play, and the ones that are underclassmen have an opportunity to reclaim their year.
Matt.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, by its nature, softball, baseball, you need people to get together to play the sport and to keep working on it. What are you what's your advice to your players and maybe even some, high school baseball, softball players that are just looking to stay in shape? What kind of things are you telling them to do at this time?
Another good question. We typically give our kids or encourage our kids to take a couple of weeks off after the season and let their bodies recover. We really weren't in that fatigue mode, but we've done that with them. Rest, recover, concentrate on schoolwork. Online classes are working out pretty well, but there is a change. So they really need to get locked in there, get their GPAs up, and they're doing a good job there. Now we've been out for a couple of weeks. It's time to start getting to work and finding ways to get back in shape. If you feel you've dropped there, see some pitches. I don't know that it's, we've got to overload them with work, but our kids are pretty self-motivated, so they're looking for ways to get an advantage, if you will. So I think most of them are finding that opportunity in their backyard or wherever they're able to go. Coach G, our strength coach, sent out equipment, or is preparing to send out equipment for them right now. And not sure exactly what all that will consist of. That's their job to keep them in shape. So they're working. We can't have a lot of with summer. We're working on summer ball. We're just telling them, hey, what's coming up in the fall. We're preparing to return in the fall with all of our testing, and you're going to be competing against some great athletes. So make sure your game's ready by that time. But there's a lot of time between now and then.
Okay, Jerry.
Hey, Glenn, you've got the 5 freshmen coming in. Can you talk about what maybe they bring and what you're expecting to see from them?
Yeah, I told Coach Newman last night looks like half our team's made up of pitchers. That's not something I'm going to complain about with the struggles we've had there. But we are bringing in 2 arms that we expected to make a difference, make an impact. immediately. Now it looks as though we're going to have Gia back and Sydney Holman or Leah Pritchett. We're going to finally have a bullpen, Jerry, that, we can always have been jealous of baseball when they have 11 pitchers, and it's important there as well. But certainly having a number 2 has been a thorn in our side for a while, and we've got quite a few candidates for that. We have 2 catchers coming in. Both are legitimate catchers with legitimate arms. So, it's just going to be a lot of competition. It'll give us an opportunity to move Taylor Ellis back to shortstop her senior year now, and maybe get some more stability on the infield. So all those things are going through my mind. I'm drawing up lineups. Bench is a lot bigger. We're probably going to have a tryout period in the fall to control roster numbers a little bit. We were at 23 last year, and I think we had 23 lockers in our locker room. So we're going to have to spend some time building a couple more lockers, because we will probably increase that number for at least a year.
Drake.
Coach, from a psychological standpoint, especially for the seniors, I mean, they've been through their off season before. They were prepared mentally for this to be their last year. What have you heard from them? What's it going to be like for them to come back for a whole nother year and do that all over again?
Drake, I don't know how much you're familiar with our fall, but our fall is pretty grueling. We have an event called the County Fair, and they call it Hell Week. They're probably a little bit more accurate with their description. We asked them to come back and make a shuttle, 300-yard shuttle, certain time in that, and a mile and a half. So they kind of fear that time. Believe it or not, the seniors are kind of negotiating with me a little bit. If they come back, what can we do about that testing? They say I'm getting soft in my old age. I don't want to hint to anything that would let them off the hook, because we got a chance to be pretty good next year. But they're taking advantage. They're kind of wise in those negotiation skills, so they're taking advantage of the opportunity right now. But Taylor Ellis told me the other day, she said, I'd go through County Fair in a heartbeat to have another year. And that's just the kind of competitor some of these kids are, and we're looking forward to giving them that opportunity.